I have this thought. How you speak to others is how you speak to yourself.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. Um, yeah.
Because I am everybody and everybody is me.
hmm
And this, I think, really has been a long time coming for me to truly realize and understand this. And I'll tell a little story.
Okay.
I guess, yeah, I'll tell it now. I was
Yeah.
gonna wait. I remember when I was leaving the Hyatt in Boston,
Okay.
and we were just about to move to San Francisco. So they transferred me from the Hyatt in Boston to the Hyatt in San Francisco.
This is like 2013,
Yeah.
something like that.
So, yeah, about
Yeah.
11 years ago. Yeah, over a decade ago. The day before we were leaving, or maybe 2 days before we were leaving, the general manager of the hotel had me go to lunch with him.
I remember that.
Gosh, was he a huge teacher of mine that I did not realize up until recently, and what a blessing in disguise he was, because he triggered me so much
Mhm.
and pointed out a lot of the things that I needed to work on, and I just was not aware. I
Yeah.
keep coming back to awareness. I wasn't aware of any of this, but he had told me when we were sitting at lunch, very much critiquing a lot of my career there, and you know giving me advice really on moving to a completely different city across the country. I'd never been there. I was going from a 200 room hotel to almost 1,000 room
Mhm.
hotel. Like, that is a ginormous jump. Just
He
preparing
was
me.
someone who had like been in the business a long time and been a
Yes.
lot of places. So
Yes.
yeah.
He had been a general manager for like 30 years or something, been all over. So again, beautiful advice that he
hmm
was giving me, and that a one-on-one conversation. I just was like a stuck up, prissy old, like 25-year-old. How old was I? Maybe older than that. But I wasn't aware enough. And
hmm
everything that he was bringing to me, I thought was an attack as opposed to
Yeah.
something to learn and grow from. But I guess it doesn't necessarily matter, because I'm learning and growing from it now. I'm
Yeah.
aware now. I understand now, and it's hitting me at this point. But what he said to me at lunch, the one thing that stuck out to me is he said I needed to work on how I speak to people. The
Mhm.
delivery that I give to other people is not good.
Yeah.
It's
And he
not
wasn't
right.
wrong.
Yeah. But I was just like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Because I remember I was really harsh with my assistants and with other managers, and I didn't know how to gently
hmm
speak what I needed. It was coming from reactions
Yeah.
and trauma and hurt.
It's,
Right.
I'm cutting you off, but
It's okay.
speaking as someone who you spoke to a
Yeah.
lot at that time, very like
Snappy.
snappy and like almost like no matter what you're trying to say would a lot of times come off as an attack because of the manner in which you spoke,
Yes.
which I think is where we're going here. So I wanted to clarify that.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And we've had the conversation. I've apologized. We've
Right.
worked
Yeah.
through
Yes.
this.
Exactly. Yes.
But it's wow. I mean, what a powerful reframe now in the understanding that I
hmm
had this thought. The way that I speak to others is actually how I speak to myself.
hmm
Holy shit.
Yeah.
In that time frame of, I was miserable. I was I had so low self-worth. I didn't trust myself. I didn't listen to myself. I was so mad at everything.
Yeah. You
So
felt like a victim.
yeah, so every time I projected these harsh, snappy words and sentences and conversations with people, like, all I was doing, even though I was like hurting those people, but
hmm
those people are me, like, I was hurting myself. And so much of those conversations and situations kept presenting themselves, because really, those are opportunities to grow and learn from. but I had no
Mhm.
idea. So it was just coming up again and coming up again and coming up again.
Yeah. It's such like a interesting look to take a little bit of a turn is like the idea of like the fixed mindset versus like growth mindset. And I think that that's what you're expressing here is that like at that time you had sort of a fixed mindset, whereas like I'm not gonna change. So if things are so like your boss criticizing you, you're I'm obviously putting words in your mouth or in your head, but it's like the idea of like this is who I am, and you're attacking it
Yeah,
versus who I am is like a dynamic, flexible thing that can change. Thank you for the advice so I can use it to grow and become better. And I think like that was like reading the book Mindset was really big for me. And you just realizing that people do go through life with different types of mindset,
mm,
and it completely changes the way they like interact with the world. So like for me, it was to realize that, oh, okay, if you switch your focus to learning, then everything is an opportunity to learn.
hmm,
Where if you don't think you can, if you think that like you're born with a certain level of intelligence and a certain um, like personality, and it can't change, then anything that challenges that is an attack.
for sure.
And yeah, so I think it's like it's really cool to see you like looking at this story from 10 years later with a growth mindset
Yeah,
versus a fixed mindset, and be like, wow, he was actually giving me really good advice that could have helped
yeah,
in the way I treated other people, but also the way you treat yourself, which is really cool. Like the first thing I thought of when you just said this now, and like brought up this idea is that we've all had experiences. I know I have where like something happens, we say something,
hmm,
and you immediately snap into a reaction where like you say something, and then it's like, what did I just say? And it's like not so much that that thing was wrong, but almost like where did that come from? Who just said that? Because that's not me. But it's like that's clearly pointing to something like internal. But do we have that same, do we question it when it's silent? When you just do something, when no matter what it is, you stub your toe or you make a mistake and you snap and yell at yourself. Do we stop and say, wait a minute, who just yelled at me? Who is that judge? Because how could I be the person who stubbed his toe and the person who's yelling at him and saying he's such a klutz? I can't be both of those. So, like, I'm the one observing this conversation in my head, and I think it's really, really interesting.
that's
Yeah.
so deep and such a oof, such a great example of the internal dialogue that we have with ourselves because we perceive it one way, and then as soon as you say a word out loud to someone else,
Hmm.
it's like it's interpreted so differently from both parties, like from
Yeah.
yourself and then from the person who's receiving it.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah. I think it is because I think
Mm.
this all just comes back to self awareness
Yeah. Well, yes.
and
Yeah.
like really like being able to slow
Yeah.
down and like observe ourselves and our
Hmm.
actions and what are the things we do and experience telling us about ourselves,
Yeah.
because it's not, this isn't necessarily like a universal truth that like the way that you speak to others is the way you speak to yourself, because we speak to different people different ways.
Definitely. Yes. I speak to you much differently than I do my parents or a person that I've met for the first
Yeah.
time or like a girlfriend of 20 years. It's all different for
Hmm.
sure. But there, it's almost like everybody that's different is still a reflection of me in some way.
It's like a reflection of some aspect of you. Yeah.
Yes. And it's also really big to observe that.
Hmm.
Like what are you giving that person? Are you like, I love talking to you. These conversations light me up. I get so inspired. It's like kindness, empathy, understanding. But then I'll be talking to someone else and it's an anger, a
Yeah.
trigger, a reaction. It's like, holy, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is a disconnect.
Yeah.
But the conversations that leave you or the situations, scenarios, whatever it be, whether you know the person or it's someone you meet the first time, you know the conversations that don't make you feel good.
Mhm.
When you're either embarrassed or, like you said, you regret it. It's like, wait, where did that come from? Or, oh my gosh, I could have handled that situation differently. Yeah,
Yeah, right? Yeah, yeah,
that's like the best thing ever.
yeah,
It's like life giving you the lesson right in front of you.
yeah. It's like, oh wow, here's something to explore. Like I did not know that about myself. Yeah, and it's
Yes.
a really, really interesting
Yes.
learning point. And yeah,
Yeah, I want to bring this up because
okay.
when I was journaling about this, because I'm thinking to myself, like, why is this important? Like, it's coming to me. Is this going to
Hmm.
resonate with people? And it is, like, the awareness is key. We will come back to that always. You have to become aware. Again, he planted the seed. That general manager planted
Yeah,
the seed. So whether or not this conversation is going to resonate with people now or 10 years from now, it doesn't matter. We're
it's
planting
true.
the seed,
Yeah.
right? That's all that matters. It took me 10 years, but I'm so glad I needed this 10-year journey to get here. There is no rush. There is, everybody's, no path is linear. There's tons of
Hmm.
different ways to go. But I journaled, and I'm pretty sure I got this download of what keeps repeating needs reprogramming. And
Yeah,
it's like,
that's really powerful.
okay, yes. So in that stage of my life, what I wasn't aware of was the harsh, like, I spoke so harshly to
Hmm.
everybody a lot of the time. And it was just on repeat because I wasn't aware. I didn't realize that there was an
Hmm.
opportunity to learn and grow from these conversations. And when I say grow, it's an internal. This is the
Yeah.
depths of us. This is the epitome of going deep. I can't change anybody else. I can't also change the way that you hear something or interpret something. I know that it wasn't good because the conversations that we've had reflecting back on what you've told
Hmm.
me, how it made you feel. But still, I couldn't change you. I had to change me. I have
Right.
only the ability to change me. And this has been what's happened over the
Yeah.
past decade.
Yeah. And I do want to like kind of like emphasize that like you weren't necessarily being mean.
Oh, no, no,
It
no.
was just the way you spoke came off as mean because you were either like in a hurry, you were agitated, you were
Stressed,
stressed
constantly,
is like definitely, yeah. And yeah, and just like,
like stressed and anxiety
yeah,
ridden 24/7.
yeah. Like you were never
Yeah.
content. And
Yeah.
from knowing you, I can tell like you didn't love yourself.
No.
So there was like that tension, that like underlying tension and everything that you like had to like just get something out and say it, and it would just come off harshly.
Brag.
Not trying to like beat up on you here,
No,
but yeah,
no,
I think
no,
it's a really good example
no.
of what you're talking about.
And I talk about this all the time. What I'm going through and will continue to go through is a beautiful destruction of
Hmm.
me. I really did have to dissolve those parts of me because I was in survival mode. The stress and the anxiety, like, I didn't love myself. I didn't know what the heck was going on in my place in the world, what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be. Like, I was seeking love in all the different places. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it just, yes. I don't think you're beating up on me. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I feel like it's just being able to observe and really reflect on the conversations that I have been having with people. And it's so beautiful to watch because I'm also watching myself change
Hmm.
and evolve. And there's such a gentle, patient, lighthearted, sympathetic energy that comes off as opposed to a reactionary place, because a lot of the time before, I was so stuck in my head and I'm
Hmm.
constantly listening to these thoughts that are not good, that are harsh. And it's like I'm moving from my head to my heart. So it's like, all right, I'm able to be more present in the moment. I'm
Hmm.
able to have eye contact. I'm
Yeah.
able to sit and actually listen to what you are saying so that I can in turn, like, absorb that as
Yeah.
opposed to react in a way. And that's what I really just needed to give myself.
Yeah. That's
Right?
yep.
It's like, because I constantly, that internal dialogue, as you were saying before, I was so hard on myself,
Right.
constantly yelling. I mean, I would beat myself up for stubbing my toe, or uh accidentally going the wrong way driving somewhere. I took all of these things. I kept beating myself down, beating myself down, beating myself down. So of course, if I talk to myself that way, I'm going to talk to others that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Geez, these deep thoughts have been such a wonderful reflection.
Yeah. Just get ideas out, like
Yeah.
talking about it does like helps.
Yeah.
And it all just comes back to awareness. It's like everything comes back to awareness and like knowing, getting to know yourself.
Yeah. And becoming aware that all of these other beautiful humans that are presented within our life and in our reality are us. Like we are all one.
Hmm.
And everybody's just playing their specific role. And their role is to help you. Those people are there to help me, right? That
Yeah.
that general manager was gifted to me. I mean, gosh, how amazing was that? I realize it now. I didn't
Right.
at the moment, but I'm like so grateful. I have so much more gratitude and appreciation. And it makes me smile. It's like it's really hard to put into words. I'm smiling. It's more of a
Hmm.
feeling. It's like, okay, I get it now. And I'd rather live in this. I'd rather live in this, even though it took me 10 years to get here. It's like it's opening up more possibilities and more ways to be present in my life and understand that each and every one of the people who are coming into my life are still there to help me and evolve. Because let's be honest, I do still react. I can be harsh at times. I can be, and I do still have a little bit of anxiety and stress. That's just all a part of life, and it's still a
Hmm.
part of learning and growing. It's like those scenarios and situations and conversations are coming up to give me more opportunities to change and choose differently, because where I am now is so different than where I was 10 years ago, that even the stresses and traumas are different. Like I've also endured different traumas
Hmm.
and experiences in the 10 years, and then I need to integrate those. So it's
Yeah.
like the version of me from 10 years ago that I'm talking about, I've handled a lot of that. But then that in between period, I've got other things to learn from as well. And what an amazing way. Like what a beautiful way to look back and see, all right, this conversation with this person lit me up. This is the energy that I love. This is the passion that I put into it. Or, all right, whew, the reflection here, I don't feel good. I need to take a breath. I just reacted. I spoke really sharply and harshly. Like, where did that come from? And like, sit with it.
Hmm.
I think the only way that I've been able to observe is sitting with it. Because the more that I think about it, it just gets me all riled up.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait,
Just
that's
sitting here.
not helping. It's like, you've got to just sit and reflect.
Yeah.
Each person's going to be different. But for me, I'm pretty sure that was a big way that I was able to
Yeah. It's kind of
overcome.
like asking the question, like who was I in that conversation?
Yeah, because it's also the different parts. Was
Yeah.
it your shadow? Was it your teen? Was it your inner child? Was it,
Yeah.
your ego? Like there are so many different parts of us. Was it like the workaholic? Was it the like desperate, part of me that needed to, get the anger out that I
Hmm.
was really just angry at myself. So yeah,
Yeah.
all of these parts of us serve so many purposes to learn and grow from.